Aloha, everybody. Welcome back to Conversations with Joseph Aldo. This is a 6-part series, podcast interviews of Joseph. I really hope that if you have not seen episodes 1 through 5, you'll take the time to watch them when the time is right, because there's so much value, so much, gold in these conversations that you want to be sure to mine all of them. Today is going to be an amazing conversation with Joseph. My name is Kim Ann Curtin. I know Joseph for now 8-9 years. We met in New York City originally, but we both lived in Brooklyn right near each other. And he has become a very, very close friend, dare I say brother, but also teacher and healer. And undoubtedly, the place I find myself today is due to the work, so much of the work I've done with Joseph. So it's an honor to interview you for these conversations, Joseph. Thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you, Kim, for being here with me. I appreciate you.
Today's going to be a great conversation, Joseph. I'm excited for it. We're going to be talking about the new paradigm. And, I've heard you talk about the new paradigm a number of times in conversations, but I'd love to really understand it with fresh eyes. So would you just tell the audience, tell me, how and what you see this new paradigm as? How do you describe it to people?
Well, I'm saying the new paradigm, but it's actually not new. And it's a place or a state of consciousness that actually exists always for all of us whenever we are available to it. So it's kind of like, say you go to Florida, like Florida's always there. It's a beautiful, sunny place with beautiful beaches. But if you don't go there, you're not going to have that experience. So the new paradigm to me is a place or a state of consciousness where, we live in flow, we live in grace, we live in a way that when we speak, what we say actually happens. So it is a state of consciousness that is in alignment with higher consciousness, with our higher self, our soul source. So the distinction between the old paradigm and the new paradigm is that the old paradigm is a fear-based paradigm. It is about separation. It is about otherness, othering, you versus me versus the world, me versus nature. And the new paradigm has to do with unity consciousness, not seeing things as separate, not seeing things as other than me, but a part of me. Like everything in this world, everything in creation is interconnected, intertwined from, from the smallest of the smallest creature in nature to the largest planet. Everything is a part of everything. And so even though we live in a world where you're there and I'm here, we are clearly two separate beings, but there's something that connects us. There's something that unites us. And this is consciousness. It's a choice for me to see that we are actually one. We're not different, even in our differences. We're not different. We're connected. We're interconnected. And that what you do impacts me, what I do impacts you. It doesn't matter how I perceive you. It doesn't matter what I think about you, that you're female, that you're white, that you're this tall, that you're this, anything. Those are all distinctions within your unique self. But those distinctions don't make you so different from me that I can't see that we are one and the same being in a way. It's kind of abstract, I understand that. But to get to the new paradigm, you have to get through the abstractions. You have to get through the eyes that see differences, the eyes that see color or nationality or different language or different sexuality or choice in sexuality, gender. We have to get beyond the illusion of separation, which is the Maya of this world, which creates so much of the suffering. We have to move beyond that to get to the new paradigm of unity consciousness. So we actually use the challenges of this third dimensional reality, of this illusion. And I call it illusion, not because it's not real per se, but because it's temporary. So if I attach to anything here, to my body, to my sexuality, to my gender, to my, monetary success, whatever it is, if I attach to anything here, I'm going to suffer because one day it's all going to be gone. So why would I place so much of my energy and my focus on the illusion when there is so much more beyond this that is available to me? But as I said, we need to use this world and all of its challenges to bridge us and to get us to the new paradigm. We have to use the perceived differences that we see here. We have to use duality. We have to use separation. We have to use the suffering that is present to help us evolve, to help us grow, and to be able to see through new eyes. Like to move from these eyes that perceive through duality to the eye, the single eye that sees unity consciousness. So it's not to ignore this realm or to bypass being human, being third dimensional, being in a material world. We're not here to bypass it. We're here to totally, truly drop into this world, experience it fully, like to every cell in our body, to experience the suffering, to experience the challenges, to experience the initiations, which ultimately help us to move beyond duality and into unity, to move beyond the fear-based paradigm into a love-based paradigm. So it requires a lot of inner work, a lot of contemplation, a lot of looking within ourselves, because this world, this game that we're playing here is our game. We're each playing our own game. And the external world is a projection of our internal reality, our internal perception. So people think that life is being lived from the outside in, that things are happening to me. But in reality, life is a projection, usually from our subconscious mind, because we're not aware of what we're even thinking. So the life external is a projection from the subconscious mind into the world, which is like a movie screen. And then the world presents to us our belief systems, what we think is real, what we think life is all about. And that's how we can study ourselves, by what's being presented to us, the relationships, the challenges, the money issues, the health issues. All of these things are information. Nothing is set in stone because everything is energy. So if everything is energy and everything is consciousness, and I'm projecting onto the world my belief systems about, you name it, whatever it is, and then the world is reflecting back to me what I believe, then I realize at some point I'm the creator of my life 100%. I'm creating everything, and we as a collective are creating this experience we're all having together. But for the most part, I can control my piece of the puzzle because I'm projecting it onto my world. So as I shift my consciousness, I get to move from a limited, fear-based, othering reality, me versus the other, to a unity-based consciousness that erupts from seeing that I am connected to everything. And because I'm connected to everything, I choose to accept everything exactly as it is. And because I choose to accept it exactly as it is, I begin to pull my energy in from the illusion, right? I begin to take out my part of projection, the painful projections, the projections of separation, the projections of judgment, all that stuff, because all judgment is self-judgment. Contemplation number two. Number three, because there is no outside, all judgment is self-judgment. So I begin to pull all my energy in as I accept everything, or everything is God's creation, right? Everything is part of divinity. There is nothing that is not part of source. So if I pull in all of my cords and I sit with all of it, then I have all this energy to use to transform, to alchemically transform my reality. I take in all of my shadows and I say, I am that I am. That is the contemplation. I am that I am. Whenever I start judging, bring it back. I'm all of it. I'm everything that is great. I'm everything that is evil. There is nothing that exists that I am not. And in owning all of it, I have command over all of it. I transform all of it. I choose not to give my energy away. I choose not to feed the pain and suffering on the planet. I choose not to feed the separation and the illusion of duality. Instead, I own that I am everything, and in owning I'm everything, I am transforming it within my own consciousness. And then I begin to reside in the new paradigm, which again isn't new. You can call it heaven on earth. It is a state of consciousness where I get to live in the world, I get to be in the world, but I know I'm not of this world. But in being here and holding unity consciousness within myself, I begin to transform the world around me. I become an agent of change on the planet because I'm not feeding the limited state of consciousness of duality and separation and suffering. Instead, I am transmitting, because I've done the inner work and transformed my shadow, I am now transmitting the new paradigm. I'm transmitting love, acceptance, forgiveness, all the higher qualities of the soul. Understand? All these higher states of consciousness, I am holding within myself, within my body, within every cell of my body. And because of that, this body begins to radiate a state of consciousness that one can call light. Hence, enlightenment, that word that is so abstract. What does it mean to be enlightened? It means exactly what I'm saying, that you transform the darkness inside of you and I now become pure consciousness, pure light, pure love, unadulterated, unconditional, present in the new paradigm. So I'm here in the old paradigm, walking in the new paradigm. So you see how that works? Is it too abstract?
No, I don't think it's too abstract. And I still feel it's like a lot to digest.
Yeah, to say the least.
So it's like a big 12-course meal, 7-course meal. And it's like one dish at a time. Can I have a minute between my soup and my salad? I have one question though. Is part of what you're speaking to about the ability to own the outside as you? I remember the first time you gave me that quote, I actually wrote it on a Post-it of all things because it was probably all I had handy. And I remember distinctively the difficulty in which I had with embracing that truth for a very long time. And I'm sure I still resist it on occasion, but I definitely have moved in my relationship to that concept, right? So to own the outside as you, do you feel that part of what facilitates all of what you just spoke about regarding enlightenment and taking away those polarities, is it simply because you step into acceptance instead of resistance to that? Is that part of it?
Well, yes, there is an acceptance that there is no outside. Everything happening outside of me is a part of me. So what is there to judge? Where is there to blame if there is nothing that's separate from me, if I'm part of everything? So it's not necessarily easy to do because, say, someone was physically abused, like I was abused as a child. So if I was abused as a child, I could hold victim consciousness till I die, that this was done to me.
Mhm.
But if I'm generating my reality 100%, so according to my philosophy, the philosophy that I've been studying and working with for many, many years, um, I am the creator of my own reality. Does that mean I created my I created that abuse growing up?
Mm.
It's not about that's not how you break it down.
Mm.
I don't understand why I had that experience or I chose that experience. This is part of the journey is I don't understand why, and I'm not going to claim to understand why,
Mm.
but I want to end my own suffering. So I'm going to accept that what happened is a part of my own creation from somewhere in time.
Mm.
And this was somehow a balance. Who
Mm.
knows? Who cares? All I know is I want to come to a place of wholeness and healing. So I'm going to forgive that person that I perceived did what they did to me. They may have a completely different perception, but I have my perception. So I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to accept them. I'm going to love them. I'm also going to have clear boundaries with this person. So that there is no outside, that contemplation, that reality brings all the power to me to be able to change my life, to be able to change my reality. Because if I'm a victim, I can't go to the new paradigm. There's no victim consciousness in the new paradigm. You have to be the empowered one. You have to be the one that takes on everything, every shadow, every aspect of shadow and light in this reality. And so that contemplation is of utmost importance because there's so many ways, there's so many reasons to blame the external world, to blame somebody or
Mm.
something for the reason why I'm having my experience.
You know,
So
I can't help but think of Ho'oponopono, which is something that, you know, here in Hawaii is practiced. And you ultimately, the four statements are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. That's the short version of it. But it is that owning the outside as you, for you to be able to transcend it. If it's in your landscape, if it's something you see, well, then you take ownership for being in a place that shows up.
yeah, it's very much about Ho'oponopono. That exercise, that meditation contemplation is very much about cutting the cords with some other entity that you feel has done something to you because that entity holds your power then.
Mm.
That being, that system, that what have you, then has your power. If they have your power, you can't heal. You can't heal with 100% of your charge, of your chi, of your prana. So that exercise forgives you, forgives them in all time and space, past, present, and future, of all things that may have occurred that I did to you, that you did to me. I now end this story 100%. So now I'm the one that has the power. And with this power, I'm going to command my reality as I so choose. And with the consciousness from the vertical current, connection to source, higher self, I am guided on how to live in this world in a harmonious way, in a balanced way. And as I do that, as I collect all of my fragments from wherever they may reside, in other incarnations, in other spaces in time, as I collect all these fragments of myself, because there are fragments. This is what healing is all about. It's about taking parts of myself back so I may become whole. Shamans will do a sort of soul retrieval with
Yes.
people. That is a collecting of the fragments and bringing them
Yes.
back to the present moment, because only in the present moment can you heal, and only in the present moment do you have the power to command space and time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I am whole and complete and in my central channel, and I am filled with consciousness and light, then I say, apple, and apple will happen, right? I have the power to create things. This is advanced, of course, but why not give the advanced aspect, in this podcast? Why not? People are ready to step up and be creators on this planet rather than worrying about what's happening outside of us. There's always going to be drama happening outside of us, always. But what position am I going to hold in the face of all the drama, in the face of all the changes that are happening? What position am I going to hold? This is the new paradigm I'm talking about, because no matter what's happening outside of me, it doesn't impact my true self. It doesn't touch what is real inside of me. Doesn't mean I'm not affected by it, but the real me doesn't lose its center. This is the new paradigm. And I can give you an example of, like, a simple example of knowing my place in the world, so to speak. Like, I went downstairs in my house here and I had a vision of an apartment with the beautiful cabinets and kitchen and everything. And I said, I'm going to build this apartment. And I got a contractor and I went to Home Depot and I'm in the car and I said, universe, I have nothing, hardly any money in the bank. So you're going to figure this. We're going to figure this out together of how we're going to go shopping today in Home Depot for all these things I have to get for this apartment. So I was like, great, let's do it. Go into Home Depot. I sit down, design my kitchen with this person who is working there. And I said, by the way, how much is this going to run me? She goes, around $10,000. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I don't have any money. So how do you propose? It's a game, right? I consider this a game, the game of life. I'm calling this series actually the game of life, how to master the game of life. So one way to master the game is that you play it like a game, but you play it as if you're a child, curious, imaginative. How's this going to unfold? Let's find out. Let's see. And so, of course, I'm sitting there and I'm saying, hearing these words come out of my mouth, like, she's going to think I'm absolutely insane. And I'm like, I don't care what she thinks. This is a game. And so I said, I don't have any money. How do you think I should pay for all this? And she goes, oh, starting tomorrow for 1 week, they will give you a credit card and you won't have to pay anything for 24 months. No interest for 24 months. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. So go to the front, give them your information, and they will give you a credit card. I said, awesome. So the next day came, I went to the front. She goes, we're going to give you $4,000 of credit. I said, that's awesome. Thank you. But I need 10,000. She goes, give a call right here. Ask them to upgrade you to $10,000, to raise your limit 10,000. I said, awesome. Gave him a call. She goes, hold on, please. I said, okay. She comes back. She goes, we have raised your limit to $10,000. I said, awesome. Thanks so much. So I go back to the woman. I get all that stuff. And I said, you know what? I need more stuff. I need a refrigerator. I need a stove. I need other things. But I don't have enough money. She goes, call them up and ask them to raise your limit. And I said, awesome. I called them up and I said, could you raise the limit to 20,000? I have more things I need to buy for a project I'm doing. Hold on, please. She comes back and she says, we've raised your limit to $20,000. I said, thank you so much. I go in, I buy another $7,000 worth of things. And then I said, do you have like HVAC here? So she says, oh yes, we have a great HVAC system. I said, how much would it cost for this, this, and this? And she goes, $6,000. I said, I only have $3,000. She goes, call them up. This is another person. Ask them to raise your limit to $23,000. So I did. And the woman said, we're so sorry. We can't raise it to 23,000, only 20. I said, oh, no apologies at all. I am very grateful for the $20,000. So I go back to the woman and I said, yep, they couldn't do it. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to run it through anyway. Miracles happen. And I said, I now know I got it just because you said those words. She runs it through and I had a new HVAC for $6,000 and $23,000. So I walked into Home Depot with nothing. A week later, I walk out with $23,000 worth of supplies. So this is the new paradigm. When you play at life as if it's a game and you're playing this game and it's fun, it's entertaining, and everything that happens is part of the game. But because I'm in the central channel, because I don't live in struggle, because I don't live in othering, I'm not blaming, I've done so much inner work that there's space to receive. So when I say something now, when I play this game with the universe, like, hey, let's create something awesome right now. I have access to all this support, all this invisible support that to the fear-based, limited, trying, struggling, accomplishing, separative, dualistic, fear-based person doesn't have access to all of this infinite potential. It's all potential.
Mm.
It's all possibility.
It's all possibility. That's the word that was coming to me. It's the upward spiral into possibility versus the downward spiral of can't, must,
Yes. It's the
won't.
contraction. So here's
Yeah.
the contraction of it's not possible. Where am I going to get this money from? So I could have gone there. I can't do this. I can't do this project. I don't have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these excuses. But in this realm, I know anything is possible. And if my desire is in alignment with my higher self and the higher good of all concerned, you know it's going to materialize. It can't not materialize.
Yeah.
So I live more and more in the new paradigm. And whenever an opportunity comes to play the game, like I had to put a driveway in at the tune of $40,000, and I'm like, here we go, universe. We need $40,000 because this has to get done because my clients can't get up my hill to come see me. So I told the guy, he goes, I have to know as soon as possible because I have a list of people and to get you in, I have to know. I said, I'll let you know in 24 hours. And so he left and I sat down meditation. I said, where's the money coming from? Where's the abundance coming from? And they gave me a person's name and I said, great, thank you. Called the person up. I said, could you loan me this money? Sure, no problem. Called the guy up. I now have a beautiful driveway coming up. That took less than 24 hours to manifest $40,000. So there again, the emptiness, sitting in the emptiness of I'm the author, I'm the authority of my life. I am creating everything every single day. Nothing is coming from the outside in. Everything's generated from the inside out. And if I'm the author and the authority, then I can create anything and I can change anything that I want at will, because my will is no longer coming from my personality. My will is aligned with the divine will. So when I was a kid, I used to read all these stories of the Himalayan masters in my early 20s. And I would sit there and go, why am I reading these books? This Brooklyn kid who went to Catholic school is reading all these books of Himalayan masters. And I'm like soaking it in, like they had these capacities and abilities that blew my mind. Yeah. Materializing things out of thin air, stopping like avalanches from, going over their students when they were walking in the Himalayas. I'm like, how did they do this? They were in the new paradigm, the miracle paradigm. They had the capacity to speak into existence, and existence, nature, responded immediately. We all have these abilities, but we have to surrender the old paradigm. We have to dissolve the old paradigm within ourselves. We have to surrender to the fear. We have to drop into the fear to move through the fear, to be birthed out of the fear paradigm and into the paradigm of love, forgiveness, acceptance, unity consciousness, etc., etc. It's no easy task.
How would you recommend people who have stumbled upon this, perhaps they're not people that know you well, where would you point them first for them to begin that journey?
That is a very good question. I think first, I have on my website, there's the 12 universal laws and spiritual principles, as well as the 7 contemplations. They're free downloads that anyone can get on my website, josephaldo.com. And that's how I was taught. My inner voice gave me these contemplations and these universal laws to sit with, think about, to read over and over again. And once you do that and they become a part of yourself, the 7 contemplations are, I think we spoke about this in podcast number 1,
Yes.
but it's all an illusion. There is no outside. Because there is no outside, all judgment is self-judgment. Embrace the paradox,
Mhm.
right? This world is a world of paradox, that multiple things can be true all at the same time. So in order to really function in this world, you have to be able to hold many concepts that are seemingly opposing at the same time. So embrace the paradox. I'm forgetting number 5. Suffering is a perspective.
Mm.
Number 6, I know nothing. Number 7, the truth will set you free. And number 7 leads to the 12 universal laws of spiritual principles. If you don't know the laws of how this world works, how are you going to master this game of life? Like the first law is we are all one. It's right there. It's all right there. You don't need anything else. We are all one is the number 1 law. Once you anchor in that, your whole being transforms, because you can't do anything against anybody else.
We have the bug back, Joseph.
Our friend is back.
Yes, he is. Thank you.
There you go.
We are all one.
We are all
one.
Nature,
Mr. Bug included.
Nature and I are, the stink bug is part of my reality. It's so hilarious. So when you realize we are all one and you master the first law, then there's nothing you will do to ever harm anything outside of you, judge anything outside of you, or do anything to anyone or anything that you wouldn't want done to yourself, right? The golden rule. So we have to contemplate these spiritual laws and principles in order to master this world. Otherwise, we are victims of always some continual external force.
Yeah.
Some external thing, but there is no outside, and we have command over the outside. So I would go to those 2 writings that I write pretty simply, succinctly, and clearly, because I don't like to read a lot anymore, and I want the cliff notes to consciousness, basically. And so if you download those 2 pieces of writing, then you'll get a lot of information in a very short amount of space, and just work with those on a daily basis, because it will transform your life as it has transformed mine. And that's essentially how I work with my clients. I work with helping them to master these concepts, to master their inner world, to master their subconscious mind, so that there is no longer a subconscious mind, that they're in command of their lives, because the subconscious mind is running the show. The subconscious mind is the projector of our movie, of our inner dialogue into the world, and everyone is the actor that is speaking our own script that we wrote back to us. And this is how we can truly understand the subconscious mind that we each have, because the people are speaking it to us. They're speaking our script to us. So there's many ways that we can, begin to pull our cords of energy back into ourselves, where we can be the master of our own life and begin to experience and live heaven on earth, or what I call the new paradigm.
The thing that is coming to me is, I believe really one of your incredible strengths is your ability to speak about, what could be considered a heady topic, but you really do it, and your books do it without jargon. And I believe that makes it so much more accessible. especially for those perhaps who haven't seen themselves as spiritual. You have, perhaps that's just the journey you've had. Perhaps it's because you're probably born in Brooklyn. We don't get away with a lot of jargon in Brooklyn. I can tell you that. You gotta be straight to the point, shoot straight from the hip. And that is, I believe, a real, it opens up a wider gate for people to move through. So thank you for that.
Yes. And, I don't want to minimize this effort to get to this place. I mean, I woke up around 20, I'm now 54. So for 30 years, I went through a lot of pain and suffering. I struggled, and, the inner war was intense. Physical issues, disease, psychological pain and suffering, spiritual challenges like you can't even believe. So I went to the Autobahn of transformation for 30 years. And, at times I was like, what is the point of all this? Why am I, struggling and suffering so much? And a lot of people couldn't even tell that I was, because it was so internal. I kept things inside myself. I'm not one who shares a lot of my inner journey when I'm in a state of struggle and pain. I've learned how to just harness it and alchemize it while it's happening. Even if I'm teaching, I'm working on it. So this is not something that one is here to achieve like overnight. Absolutely not. And I think that I had the strength, the confidence, the trust to go through this process for 30 years because I've been working towards this moment in time for lifetimes. And, I fully believe, of course, in reincarnation, because there's no way I can be doing what I'm doing today with my clients, with myself, from one lifetime of information. It's absolutely impossible. So every lifetime we are accumulating data, just like the child who's playing Mozart at 6 years old. That child did not just learn that in the moment, or just like by divine inspiration. That child, that soul, has worked at that skill for many, many lifetimes. So even though it seems like things just flow out of me so easily, it took many years of purification of this body, of this mind, of this being in my consciousness, to be able to hold higher states of consciousness and to be able to reflect another person's true state of consciousness back to them. So without sitting in the void for many years and just dissolving, egoic dissolving, without doing that, there's no way I can speak about this stuff, because I'm not talking from a place of books that I've read. And this is why I'm writing, I've written books and I'm writing The Voice Within right now, to share my experience of things that have happened that people will say that's not even possible. How could you have done that? And it's like, well, I didn't. It actually happened through me. And because of all those experiences, I now live in a place of so much trust and faith that things happen seemingly miraculously to me and through me. But it, like I said, it came at a high cost and many initiations to be able to die to the limited part of myself, which is what has to happen to get to the new paradigm, to the miracle paradigm, to paradise, to heaven on earth. You have to die over and over again to your limited, victimized, wounded, separative, on and on self, so that you could be reborn into the new reality, the one reality, the only reality that actually exists, which is truth with a capital T. And like I said, it comes at a high price, and that price is to sit in the struggle, to sit in the suffering, and be dissolved by that journey of suffering. And I am a big fan of suffering, not the suffering of ignorance, the suffering of transformation, of ending the limited self, ending and dissolving the limited ego. And whatever you have to do to go through that process, we all have our own individual challenges. We all came into this world with certain things that are set up for us to be challenged. They're not to be avoided, And we're not to go into distraction to not experience them. We're here to actually go through it so that we can transform it, so that we can rise in consciousness and move from the limited fear-based paradigm and into the miracle-based, love-based paradigm.
Mm. Joseph, for those who perhaps are going to read the Seven Contemplations and the 12, what is the 12 again?
12 universal laws and spiritual
Universal laws.
principles.
Universal laws. For people who are going to dive into both of those, is there anything that you would suggest they do before that? I know also, I believe on your website, you offer the cutting cords meditation. Would you say there's any sort of a foundation or step? Is something like the cutting cords meditation appropriate before they even begin to read these pieces of wisdom for them to be able to even receive them? Like take us to the very first baby steps for people.
Yeah, I think the cutting cords meditation can be a very good first step, because within that meditation, it talks about pulling your cords back and taking 100% responsibility being the creator of your life. So it is a good first step to kind of deal with any person or situation that is lingering within your life, within your consciousness, where energy is going to, or thought is going to on a regular basis. Because anytime that our mind is occupied with something that keeps us in a space of limitation, in a space of suffering, in a space of victimhood, anytime that's happening, that's power that is leaving our system. It's like as if someone is plugging into your outlet, your energy outlet in your home, and they're siphoning all this electricity and you're paying for it. So I definitely think that the cutting cords meditation is a good place to begin, and just call in all those people, all those beings, experiences that where you feel you are losing energy. And then from there, you can definitely begin with the seven contemplations, because they're pretty simple. They're simple to understand, but they can be challenging to, administer in your life, to really use them daily in your life. And that's why you read them every day, and then you live your life and you see which ones are my challenging ones, which ones do I feel like I am anchored in the truth of it, and which ones am I not. And then you keep reading the one over and over again that's really challenging you, until you're anchored in it and you're embodying the truth of that contemplation. So contemplations are a very powerful tool that helps us to dissolve the limitations in our minds, and helps the mind, like it's like a dog chewing on a bone. It's like, like a koan, like what's the sound of one hand clapping? Like, in order for your mind to truly understand a contemplation, it has to break out of its mold of belief systems. It has to break out of its mold of limitation. And then it's like, oh, like the light bulb goes off and it's like, now I understand. But not understanding from the place of the limited mind. It's from a place of embodiment, like a cellular embodied understanding. Like, I get that, I feel that, I know that, I am that now. So the seven contemplations, for sure, you can read all of it at the same time, but I'm one for, taking one's time to digest, as you were saying. Like, there's so much information to absorb when you step onto a spiritual path, like an embodied spiritual path, not a disembodied, not a disassociated, but one where you're in the muck of this world and you're using the energy of this world, the challenges, the suffering. You're using all of that as part of your transformation, because no muck, no lotus. There's not going to be this realization or this enlightenment if you don't stick your roots deep into this physical realm, into this chaos of existence, into this earth school. If you don't stick your roots deep into the soil here and experience the depth of suffering and then transmute that suffering by experiencing it, then you just have to come back again and try again over and over and over again. And that to me is just inefficient. So whenever I get to a place of like suffering, which still happens, like when things transpire in my life, I'm like, great, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to really sink in, drop down, and enjoy this life to the fullest. It sounds like a strange word to say in the midst of suffering, but when you go to the depths of suffering, the transmutation of it is bliss. So it is not an easy path to walk, but many of us are now on the path, whether we like it or not, because of all that's happening in the world today, with all these lockdowns and coronavirus and all the subconscious content that comes up when we're faced with our fears. Pandora's box is open. You don't have the luxury of waiting anymore, of just chilling out and sitting back and watching what happens. You're part of the show. You're part of the creation. You're part of all of this. So if you want to move out of the mode of suffering, you're going to have to drop into it, surrender into it, and transform it and see what comes out of it on the other side.
Joseph, for those who want to go deeper or move quicker, tell people how they can work with you and what areas that you have to offer, because you do so much. Give us just a little kind of poo-poo platter, as we say here in Hawaii, appetizer platter of what and how people could go further and deeper with your work.
Well, the simplest way is private sessions. I work with people with so many issues. I generally, my gift is to go right to the subconscious mind, because that's where I'm going to get to the meat of what is causing dis-ease in people. And so finding the programs, patterns, and beliefs that are running in the subconscious mind is first and foremost for me, because our lives are run 95% by the subconscious mind. So private sessions, and people come to me for all sorts of things: anxiety, stress, fears, insecurities, addictions, physical problems, psychological problems, spiritual issues. It runs the gamut. It doesn't matter to me what the person presents or what the names are that Western medicine may give to their issues. I am an energy worker. I am an energy healer. I go to the energetic level, to the causal plane of what's disturbing people, and then I support them through energetic medicines and whatever information comes through me as an intuitive, to help them understand the core reason for their experience, and then flower essences and other energetic medicines to support them in transmuting all that. And it happens much faster because of the energetic medicines. So private sessions, as well as classes I teach class. I just finished a class on a 6-week course on holistic healing and the shifting paradigm, which is also the same name of the book that I have written from the many years of experiences that I have as holding a PhD in natural health. So it's a really great book that goes from consciousness to Ayurveda, flower essences, tissue salts, detoxification, and homeopathy. It's a good, succinct aspect for each one of these holistic tools, as well as the significance of consciousness within our lives and the cause of our dis-ease and the cause of our health. And so workshops, flower essence workshops, intuition workshops. It depends on whatever it is that I'm teaching in the moment, and then books. So,
and if people
also
through podcasts,
through these podcasts too, I think there's a tremendous amount of information that kind of comes through these transmissions, that if you're open to them, you can receive actually a lot.
Yes, agreed, for sure. I know I have, and it's not my first time being able to listen to you and learn from you. And yet this whole series, a 6-part series, which we're concluding now, has been just so nourishing and enriching to me. So thank you, Joseph, for them. Please do look at the rest of the podcast series. The first episode we talked about was the title of this whole series was Mastering the Game of Life. And we spoke in the first podcast about who Joseph was and, kind of where his journey, where he's been and where he is now and where he's going. And I think that's really important. I know it is for me. When I work with somebody, I want to understand who they are, what it is that they are kind of up to. And I think if you see that first episode, it'll help you understand Joseph even better and the work that he is obviously called to do. So thank you, Joseph, so much for these conversations. It's been an honor to be on the journey with you in them.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim, so much. Appreciate it.